But I am a candidate, and I don't care what y'all say. I'm going to say this. And it's, you know, in life it's easier to get forgiveness than it is to get permission. Did y'all know that? And anyway, I'm a candidate for 13th congressional seat, running against Brad Miller. Brad Miller is a, you know, I'm trying to find somebody who's a carver who could make a head. You know these bobbleheads that you see in the back window? Y'all ever seen him do that? I asked him on the floor one time, but I said, why did you bring us a bill that's explicitly a violation of our Constitution? All 50 of us swore to uphold our Constitution, and he bobbled his head. You probably remember this, Neil. And he said, and this was a redistricting, I call it the re-gerrymandering bill. He said, because I can. And I don't remember another time when I actually wanted to walk across the Senate there and smack somebody. But you know, in the whole history of the North Carolina Senate, nobody was ever kicked out of the Senate for smacking somebody. They were only kicked out for calling somebody a nasty or rude name. And but the name that he called me one day in there, I'm a poor guy, but I would have given $1,000 if the press had heard what he called me that day. Just use your imagination. I won't repeat it here. But anyway, I'm supposed to be talking about a flat tax. Anyway, on April the 15th, after I've gotten all the tax returns that I can get done, and watched my friends suffer terribly, you know. These tax returns are not easy, you know. Even what should be a simple tax return is not simple anymore. And I'll tell you more about them if I have time. I see that the guy's got his pencil ready. But, and then the latecomers and the ones that's too hard even for me or anybody else to do, we get extensions on. And then after I get all of them dealt with, and I usually Pat will come in and help me. Pat's my wife. And by the way, tomorrow's my anniversary, 41 years she's put up with me. I don't understand why she did it. I don't understand it. But the Lord has looked after me far better than I ever deserved. And I'd tell y'all how I met her, but where we get back to her, and I surely wouldn't have a nice dinner tomorrow night if I told you. Remind me, I'll tell you some other time. After tomorrow night's dinner, you know. But anyway, what was that about the flat? And I asked Pat, I said, Pat, and you know it's harvest season, right? I mean, all these people come in, these farmers, you know, they want to pay right then. They pay me, you know. It ain't no bill me later stuff, they pay. And if I'm ever going to have any money, it's April the 15th. It's when I most likely have got some money. And I said, Pat, add up, we got the money in the bank. So I'm fixing to do my extension, okay, Roy? Fixing to do my extension. She says, yeah, we got some money in the bank. I said, how much money we got in the bank? And she tells me. And then the only question I got to answer is how much of it we send to the feds and how much we send to North Carolina. And then I am flat. So ain't that what you call a flat tax? No, a flat tax is a little bit deceiving, a little bit misleading. And what they're talking about is just taking your income without a whole bunch of hieroglyphics and gyrations and calculating a tax on it. Well, now honestly, that is misleading. Because if you can calculate what your income is, and this leaves things open for the Congress to do tricks on you. If they had just left things alone based on what our income tax was, it started out in what year? Anybody know what year it was? 1913. What amendment to the Constitution was it? 16th Amendment. Anybody know what it says exactly? The Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes on income from whatever source derived without regard to any census or enumeration or apportionment amongst the several states. Period. Period. right up the street here is a place called NC State University. And folks, if you think I'm criticizing NC State, you ought to hear me get on Carolina, where I graduated. But I went to both schools. I went to NC State, I went to Carolina, I went to Charlotte, and I even went to a school in Africa, a few other places. But a fellow named, God rest his soul, he's dead now, but he wrote a whole bunch of articles that was printed in all of the newspapers and stuff, and all of the tobacco bells, saying that these tobacco farmers had to pay taxes on an element of imagination. And what it had to do was with I even forgot what it was called, but it had to do with no, it wasn't intangibles. It was a thing that they was issuing instead of money on tobacco. Huh? No, it was Class B and Class C certificates of, but anyway, they weren't worth anything. They wasn't money. You couldn't take them to the grocery store. You couldn't spend them, and they were never going to be any good. And under it, and if you get paid in potatoes, you got to report on your tax return how much those potatoes are worth. And if they all rotten, that's zero. It took me several years, and I had my neck stuck out about 10 miles, saying that there was no taxable income related to those certificates because those certificates were worth zero. Anyway, nobody else would stick by me. I'll tell you that I've come around to the conclusion. I want to tell you this. We have got to get rid of the Internal Revenue Code. It is an abomination against human people. It has got to go. And this is 41 years of experience, folks. I came out of the Army in 1967. And I don't care about some accountants crying and whining about not having a job, or some IRS employee not. We got to get rid of it. And I'm ready to support a fair tax. I think a flat tax would be not as good as what they call a fair tax. But I will tell you that fair tax is an oxymoron. There ain't no such thing as a tax that's fair. Y'all have a good night.